What's up guys, it's Topsy. So I know I'm a bit late to the party, but I really want to discuss some pretty big news regarding Speed Duels. That of course being the announcement of a brand new box projected to come out next year. This new box is super exciting and there's so much I want to discuss regarding it, from predictions to speculations of mine. But before we continue today's video, don't forget to click the subscribe button for more engaging Yu-Gi-Oh content. But with that out of the way, let's begin. So, if we go onto the Konami website, we can see that we have a good amount of information regarding the new box. The first few things that popped out to me, however, were first, the theming of the box, and secondly, the fact that it's going to end up being a mini box. Which is interesting, since I thought they weren't going to continue the mini boxes, since our last few boxes were just the regular ones. But that's not that important. But anyway, regarding the theming of the box, as we can see, it's clearly based on the Society of Light arc in the GX anime, which has a bunch of implications towards what cards we could possibly see printed for this set. As to the decks we're going to be getting, since this is a mini box, this means that we're only going to be getting a total of 4 decks. However, those 4 decks in question are quite interesting. The 4 decks in question are as follows: Tyranno Hassleberry with his own version of Dinos, Jim Crocodile with Fossils, Jaden Yuki and his Neospatians, and finally, Sartorius with his infamous Arcana Force monster. Let's go ahead and break down what exactly I'm expecting to see out of these decks, as well as what I'm hoping to see. Let's begin the deck discussion with Hassleberry. So what am I expecting to see out of Mr. Dino DNA himself? The first thing that came to mind when thinking about Hassleberry was the fact that we're most likely than not going to be receiving the quote-unquote Black Dino archetype, which is a series of dinosaur monsters that are really underwhelming and really mediocre at that. Cards like Black Stego, Black Tyranno, Black Brachiosaur, and I forgot there's 2 more that I can't think of at the top of my head. I'll show them right here on screen. But in addition to these cards, we also have the Evolution Pill cards, which vary from really powerful from Double Evolution Pill to really underwhelming with all the other ones. But the cards that I'm most excited to see whether or not they get printed are the baby dinos, that being Petite Tyrannosaur and Baby Cerosaurus. These are 2 very powerful monsters that enable a lot of really powerful strategies for the dinosaur deck, which I don't know if it's too much for Speed Duels yet though. But these are the cards that I see more likely than not getting printed for Hassleberry. Now, as to the cards that I'm going to be speculating whether or not we could possibly get, and kind of want to start a discussion in the comment section with you guys, is do you guys think it's possible that we could get a card like Overtex Coatlith, which is a very powerful dinosaur support card, but I think it might be balanced enough for Speed Duels. So in case you don't know what this card does, it's a dinosaur monster that upon being sent to the graveyard by any means necessary is able to search out an evolution card. Now, the strength of this card varies upon what evolution pills we get into the game. It could be really powerful if we got a card like Double Evolution Pill printed, or it could be really underwhelming with all the other ones. But in addition, this card also has a special summoning condition that has you shuffle back, I believe it's 5 dinosaurs into the deck to special summon him, which is easier said than done in Speed Duels alone. But I'm willing to discuss this in the comment section below. As to skills, now the first thing that came to mind was a way to search out the evolution pill cards. While I know that we already have a double evolution pill card specifically for Rex, we might get a way to search out the pills if we don't get the Coatlith, but in addition to that, we might also see a way to destroy dinosaurs in hand in order to enable the baby dinos in hand. But I don't know, I'm just spitballing here and want to hear your guys' opinion. The Hassleberry deck specifically is a deck that I'm here or there for it. I'm neither upset about it coming to the game, nor am I crazy excited for it. I'm just hoping it's fun to pilot. Now, let's move on to a deck that I'm actually super crazy excited for. That being Jim Crocodile's Fossil Death. Now, this deck used to be anime specific. These cards did not exist until a couple years ago in the TCG. And honestly, I think we were going to be able to get quite a few cards. Cards like Weathering Soldier, Shell Knight, and Gaia Plate, as well as Fossil Fusion. Now, I'm not too sure as to whether or not we're going to be able to get a lot of the spell cards the deck comes with. I think, if I recall, they're not that powerful, or powerful enough to where it won't cause an issue in Speed Duels. However, the big concern with Fossils comes with its fusion monsters. Now, they can vary from really broken to mid at best, honestly. A lot of the cards that I can see coming to the game are the Fossil Fusion cards, essentially, which all have a burn effect if they destroy an opponent's monster, but they're all relatively small and may not be that big of a deal. But I don't know. I'm not too sure on this. However, we also have the Fossil Warrior monsters, which I think are really interesting and cool, and could see a couple of them coming into the game. The one fossil monster we know we're getting for sure is Fossil Dragon Yugioh, which I was astounded to see it's coming to the game since I thought it was really powerful and could just end games out of nowhere. However, the card, after reading it a few times, seemed a bit more balanced since its summoning condition requires you to use a level 7 or higher monster in your opponent's graveyard specifically, which is easier said than done if your opponent isn't playing level 7 or higher monsters. Which brings me to the discussion of what kind of skills we could see for this deck. The first one that came to mind immediately was, what if there was a skill that allowed you to send cards to your opponent's graveyard in order to enable your fossil fusion targets? Which is an interesting skill, but that's as far as I could come up with. But again, I want to start the discussion in the comment section, so let me know. What are you guys cooking up with this character? Up next for discussion, we have Jaden Yuki and his Neospatians, which is the second deck I'm most excited for. Now, right off the bat, we're most likely than not going to be getting every single Neospatian monster. That being Hummingbird, Panther, Dolphin, Glowmoss, Scarab. However, there's one that I want to discuss, that being Granmole. Now, if you don't know the history of this monster, it's been on and off the ban list in the TCG, at least back in its heyday. And that's because it's a very, very, very powerful form of monster removal. So the reason I bring up this card specifically is that we already have a card that works, I guess, I don't want to say similarly, but for the sake of comparison, we're going to say similarly in DD Warrior Lady, which is able to banish any monster it battles with. However, Neospatian Granmole is arguably better than DD Warrior Lady. The only way that I could see DD Warrior Lady being arguably better is the fact that she's able to be searched off with Rhoda, which I can see an argument for. But however, I can see Granmole maybe being left out, which would upset me, but most likely than not, we're getting him just to complete the Neospatians. But maybe we see him get limited to 3 right off the jump, which would be wild in my opinion. But let's continue the discussion as to what other cards I could see coming. The cards that we're obviously going to be getting for this deck are going to be Elemental Hero Neos, of course. Duh. But what if we also got Elemental Hero Neos Alias, which is a fantastic Gemini monster which has entire strategies built behind him. But in addition to those cards, I could also see Neospace Pathfinder being introduced. As to the cards that we could possibly see printed, which are more questionable, are Neospace Connector, Crosskeeper, and Neos Fusion. Now, I know these 3 cards are crazy strong, but what if we only got one of them? Now, I think Neos Fusion is probably the card that I'm least leaning towards getting because, I don't know, other decks could probably utilize it, and I kind of just want it to be a Neospatian card. This issue doesn't come up as much if Brave News doesn't ever get printed, but still, I don't know, it's probably better off we don't get a card like this. However, Connector and Keeper are cards that I can see an argument for. More likely Connector than Keeper. This Neospace Connector can set up the place in order to special summon your fusion monsters, which are harder to summon than you might think. But I'm willing to be talked down from this idea. But as to a skill, the obvious skill that we could possibly be getting for this deck is going to be a way to activate Neospace from your deck, or just have the skill itself be the field spell, which is perfectly good for the deck. But from there, I couldn't think of a skill that wouldn't be too broken for this deck. But I'm willing to hear you guys out. Now for the deck that I'm least excited for, just because I don't really care for this character or the archetype behind it. Now, I'm gonna be the first to say, I think pretty much every Arcana Force monster can come to the game. I think they are that bad. The one exception that I could see is Arcana Force Zero, the Fool. Now, I don't think this card is too powerful for the Arcana Force archetype, but I do think it's too strong for other decks to utilize, since it would most primarily be used to create stall strategies that are really unfun and create really unhealthy game states for the game. Now, when I say pretty much every other monster is good to come, I mean it. Even the Arcana Force EX boss monsters, which I think are really mid. Since, and I have an argument for this, since we already have a card that exists currently in Speed Duels that works very similarly to them, that I think is better than both of them. That being Destiny Hero Plasma, which is an oppressive boss monster that sees almost no play in Speed Duels. But I'm willing to be corrected by you guys. Now, as to what skills we could possibly see for Sartorius himself. Well, the obvious skill that he could possibly be getting is some form of way to guarantee the coin flips a couple of times a duel. But those are my thoughts regarding the decks we're going to be receiving in this set. Now that I finished discussing the decks, let's take a quick look at what else we know regarding this new box. In addition to them telling us what 4 characters we're getting, they also told us a few more characters that are going to be getting support in this set. Those characters being Zane Truesdale, Aster Phoenix, and funny enough, Belowski. A character that a lot of Speed Duel fans have been hoping to see since we got Moki Moki printed in the Duel Academy box a bit over a year ago. Now, it also mentions that we have more. So what exactly does it mean by that? Well, my first thought was, what if we got more support for Zane, Alexis, or maybe, I don't know, Bastion? Since those were big players in that arc in the anime. If we did get Zane or Alexis, I can see them getting their, I guess, new ace monsters in that arc, that being White Knight Dragon and White Knight Queen, Princess, I forget what Alexis got. So I could see that being cards that they receive. But as to Zane, Aster, and Belowski, well, first off, Belowski, he's obviously going to be getting Moki Moki King. They even tell us we're getting that card when talking about the secret rare cards we're getting. But in addition to Moki Moki King, I could see us realistically getting Moki Moki Adrift, a card that we received. I forget when exactly we got that in the TCG, but it's a card that is meant to be Moki Moki support that I think is fairly balanced. But that's all I really have for Belowski. However, the one I'm excited to discuss is Zane and Aster. Now, I'll be the first to say Zane got shafted with his release in Speed Duels. The man got almost no Cyber Dragon cards, with the exception of Cyber Dragon and Cyber Dragon Prototype? I forgot the name of that card. But he got no Cyber Dragon cards, unless you want to count Cyber Phoenix as Cyber Dragon or Cyber Valley as Cyber Dragon card, which I don't really, since they don't really add on to the strategy, but whatever. So, what I've seen people discuss on Reddit as to what exactly Zane could get, one of the cool things that I saw was them discussing what if he got Cyber Barrier Dragon and Cyber Laser Dragon. I could see that being a really interesting deck strategy built around them, and could see skills printed for those monsters as well. But if not, we could also see some other Cyber Dragon monsters get printed. Cards like Cyber Dragon Zwei. I'm not gonna pretend I know the name of the other ones, but those cards, that could be really interesting to see as well. I'm just hoping that Zane gets a little more for his deck. Now onto Aster. I personally really like the Destiny Hero archetype. I think it's really cool. However, I do not like Aster's deck in Speed Duels. It's really boring, since it's so one note. The deck is just Destiny and Dragoon Turbo, and that's it. I mean, can you even call that a Destiny Hero deck, really? I don't, but whatever. So what I'm hoping to see for Aster specifically is something that I saw a lot of people discuss on Reddit as well. What if he got a Dreadmaster deck? Now, that could be super fun and interesting if they gave us a couple more cards in addition to the Dreadmaster and the Clock Tower President, obviously. What if we, in addition to that, also got a card like Dark or Celestial to aid the strategy? This could also give pathway to a Destiny Hero beatdown strategy, with Dark allowing to swarm the field and Celestial being able to clear a back row. Now, I think this strategy would be really fun and make the deck a lot more playable, but I want to hear your guys' opinion on this, and what exactly you're hoping to see out of the support for the new characters. Last thing I want to discuss for this video is I want to take a quick look at what cards are going to be getting the secret rare treatment in this set. We're already told a few of them, those being Moki Moki King, Aqua Dolphin, which is going to be great for the TCG. But in addition, the two cards that I want to mention specifically are going to be Card Trooper and Dandelion, which are going to be awesome for Edison, since I just love that secret rare printing for Speed Duels. It's just chef's kiss. Now, why exactly am I concerned about Dandelion and Card Trooper? Well, if you don't know, these cards have a long and very rich history in the TCG. Card Trooper was part of a deck called Troop Dupe Scoop, but Dandelion has more of a history with the fact that it's able to spam the field with its tokens, which gave rise to a lot of synchro strategies, and later on got itself banned because of links. Now, I don't think Dandelion's gonna do anything crazy like that yet. The key word there is yet, since we haven't reached Synchro era. But however, what I saw people cooking up in Reddit was, what if this gave rise to a very powerful Plasma deck? So the idea behind this deck would be you would normal summon Trooper, mill a bunch of cards, hopefully hit Dandelion, Dandelion would then summon 2 tokens, and voila, you have 3 monsters on field with Trooper and 2 tokens to special summon the Destiny Hero Plasma, which is really cool since you're able to turbo out the card like it's nothing. And I'll be honest, this is a deck that I'm gonna be really interested in trying out once the set is released. But what I mostly concern myself with is how problematic Dandelion might become once synchros come out. I know this is like a long ways out, but it's still something to consider. But that's just like the main concern that I had. I'm excited overall for this set, and I'm super excited to make that plasma deck work, which is something I'm definitely going to be toying around with once it's legal. But that's all I have for you guys today. As I said, I'm crazy excited for this new set, and we'll keep a close eye for possible updates / leaks regarding the set. Also, if you did end up enjoying today's discussion, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. I appreciate whatever support you guys give me. But with that, I've been your pal Topsy. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.